Hello everybody, my name is Andy Bart and welcome to Swords and Roses, my AuthorTube channel. Today we are going to be doing the first date book tag. First off we have the awkward first date, a book where something just felt a little bit off. It wasn't a bad book, but something about it just didn't click with you. My choice for this is Wicked by Gregory Maguire. Now, I bought this because I went to see the musical Wicked and I found out it was based off of a book. And when I was reading this, I really couldn't get into it. I'm gonna be frank, it's really weird. It's not that it's bad, it's actually written quite well and the narration style is quite good. It's really weird and I just think I didn't get it exactly. And so, yeah, this is my awkward first date. It was just a little bit weird. Now, second up, we have The Cheap First Date, a book that turned out less than you expected. So, when I was in high school, I was a huge fan of the Maximum Ride series by James Patterson. And so, Nevermore by James Patterson, which was the 8th Maximum Ride novel, is my cheap first date because I had really high expectations. This was supposed to be the last book of the series. It didn't end up being. I actually haven't read the last book in the series because this book was so bad that I did not want to buy and read the final book in this series. I actually can't think of anything more heartbreaking than really looking forward to a book and finding out how a series ending and then being presented with a book like this. It's really bad. Like books 6 and 7 were actually really good and then this was a piece of crap. It was awful. Number 3, we have The Well-Prepared First Date, a book that was better than expected. My choice for this is Bloodsong by Anthony Ryan. It is the first book in the Raven's Shadow trilogy. I keep calling it Shadow of the Raven, it's Raven's Shadow. Raven's Shadow trilogy. This book is amazing. It has so many twists and turns. It starts out in the future and then it comes back and then it just throws twists at you. Every chapter it's throwing new things at you and you're just left with so many questions and then none of them really get answered and you get left with so many more questions. So you keep turning the pages because you want answers to your questions and you want to see where the hell this story is going because I'm pretty sure it's going in a completely different direction than I think it's going. And I really can't wait to read the rest of the series. This is at the moment one of my absolute favorite books. It's so much more than I thought it was going to be and I am in love with this guy's writing style and I can't wait to finish this trilogy so I can move on to his second series and start reading it as well because wow, oh my god, I love this book. Number 4, Hot But Dumb, a pretty book but not much on the inside. So my answer for this is The Magician. I picked up this book because, I mean, obviously it's fantasy and all of that, and also just look at this cover. This cover is gorgeous. I don't like this book. I don't even know why I still own this, why it didn't end up in my donation pile, because I really don't like it. The cover is beautiful. The blurb makes it sound fantastic. It's not a very good book in my opinion. I'm really sorry for anybody who actually really likes it. I really didn't. Number 5, The Blind Date, a book you read without knowing anything about it. Catch-22 by Joseph Heller is one of my top 10 favorite books of all time. And the first time I read this, I didn't know anything about it. And my dad and I were talking about books that you pick them up thinking they're about one thing, and then when you finish reading them, you realize that they're actually about something completely different. He went out to his book cupboard and he came back with this old, battered copy of a book called Catch-22. When you read this book, it actually makes absolutely no sense the first time you read it. It's really confusing. You have to read it twice to actually make any sense of it. I recommend this book to everyone because I really feel like everybody needs to read it. If only because it's the most confusing book in the way that it is written. It is the most confusingly written book in the world. There is also a character who dies during a training exercise. He wasn't actually in the plane, but his name was on the flight log, so he is officially dead. 6 is Speed Dating, a book that you read super fast. So for this one, I've actually got 3 books because I read an entire trilogy in about 30 hours. This is the Captive Prince trilogy. I found the first one on Kindle and bought it because I wanted something new to read. Finished it by about 3 o'clock in the morning. Went to sleep. Woke up at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Decided I really needed to read the second one. So I bought it and I read it and I finished it at about midnight and it ended on a cliffhanger. So I bought the third one and I finished the third one by about 6 a.m. So this trilogy is actually by an Australian author, C.S. Packet, and I highly recommend everybody to read it because half of the characters are people of colour. Most of them are queer, which obviously means that I love this to pieces. I really love it and everybody should read these books. The Rebound, a book you read too soon after a book hangover and it just kind of ruined it for you. I feel really bad putting this in here because I love Jane Austen. I love everything about Jane Austen. I love every Jane Austen novel except for Persuasion, because the first time I read Persuasion was during the Premier's Reading Challenge when I was probably, I think I was 13 when I did this, and it was probably the 50th book that I had read, and I selected it because it was quite a small book, and also because I love Jane Austen, but because I had read so much, it was actually a struggle to get through this book, and I hate it. Whenever I think of this book, I just feel really exhausted, and I start to get a bit of a headache, and I no longer want to ever pick it up and read it again, which sucks because I hear it's actually really good, but I don't think that. Number 8, The Overly Enthusiastic First Date, a book that just felt like it was trying too hard. So I own this entire series and I have read them all, but when I first read Evernight by Claudia Gray, I was kind of really annoyed when it got to the plot twist. Really? No, that's not how you do a plot twist. It shouldn't be done that way. It almost felt like the plot twist was thrown in there just to make the romantic storyline a forbidden romance. It was trying too hard to be a twisty, complicated plot, and it just... Number 9, The Perfect First Date, a book that did everything right. This is Note to Self by Connor Franta. This is not a fictional book, but this is the only book that I've ever read where everything felt right to me. This book is fantastic. This book is as close to perfect as I think a book can get. I mean, first of all, look at this cover. It's a poem next to a photo. It's not a memoir, it's not an autobiography, it's not a work of fiction. It's a collection of poetry and journal entries and personal essays and just thoughts. I really feel like everybody should read this book, especially people in their 20s, but even people who are older and people who are younger. It's a really good book for thinking about yourself and about your life, and I love it so much. It's actually so perfect. And finally we have number 10, The Humiliating First Date, a book that you are embarrassed to admit that you like. Oh, please don't crucify me. I know that it's written by Stephanie Meyer, and I know that she's like the devil, but I actually really love this book. I obviously read it when I was going through my Twilight phase. I have to own that because, I mean, it's a dark period in my life and I don't like to think about it, but I still went through the phase like a lot of people did, and I actually still own all the Twilight books. They're on that shelf right there. I don't know if you can see them, but I still own them. I guess it's kind of like The Magician. I don't know why I still own them, but I do. I like aliens more than vampires. I think that's probably the first thing. The main relationship in this book is not actually romantic. The main relationship is between Melanie and Wanda, the human host, and the alien inside her body. That's actually the main relationship, and I think that might be the reason why I prefer this to Twilight and why I actually like it when I don't like Twilight. I really like this book, and it's a bit embarrassing to admit that because as soon as people hear Stephanie Meyer, they think Twilight. And I feel like I shouldn't be embarrassed about that, because you shouldn't be embarrassed about things you like, but it is written by Stephenie Meyer and people have connotations associated with her name. So yeah, this is my humiliating first date. Alright, thank you for joining me for the first date book tag. That was actually really fun, and it took me ages to pick the books for some of those, especially the Rebound one, because I don't get book hangovers a lot, and the last one I can remember having was probably in high school, and it was more because I was studying than reading too much. Thank you for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more from me, please hit the subscribe. There's a red button down there, but there's also actually a little white symbol in this corner here that you can click. I also have all my social media links in the description of this video. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and I also have a website where I update a blog twice a week. So I will see you guys next Monday. Thank you for joining me. Bye!